Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to say Tam McManus, Scott Allen, Ryan McGowan and Kenny Rodgers in his latest album joins us to sing on the programme. Might as well. He's a dead ringer for him, isn't it? We had him on so many years ago, and we're delighted that Johnny Russell is back with us. Johnny, absolutely magnificent to have you with us. And of course, a wee trip back home from America to see the family here, no doubt, for Christmas.
Aye, we've done it every year since we've been over there. Christmas is New Year. We've talked about staying over there a few times for it, but I think we'd regret not coming back home and seeing everyone. So, aye, back for Christmas and New Year, and then head back over.
Yeah, good to be with an old teammate.
Yeah, listen, I always kind of tie in with Johnny when he comes back, as he touched on there. He's got a better time than me this year though, because he's just back on holidays. It's obviously great to have him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, and said with the sincerity of how your two careers have taken a different twist along the way, haven't they? I mean, Johnny decided to go for the sunshine and the football and become an MLS legend. And you ended up at Celtic Hearts. What went wrong, Scott?
That's the order to Celtic. Celtic's a great club.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Johnny, we're delighted that you're here with us. We've got lots to talk about, of course, not only your career and what you're up to now, but we will be discussing Dynamo Zagreb against Celtic from last night. Rangers against Tottenham will be live at Ibrox to talk to Blair ahead of the big game, because Ange Postecoglou is back in Scotland, ready with Tottenham to take on Rangers in the Europa League. We've got the Conference League as well with Copenhagen against Hearts. We'll look ahead to that Premier Sports Cup final on Sunday, Rangers against Celtic. And let's not forget there are Champions League games. And just announced in the last few minutes, the 2034 World Cup will be played in Saudi Arabia, and that in itself opens up a whole can of worms which we can discuss on this programme. So no shortage of things to discuss, including, of course, it's very unusual, Tam, us having five actually on the couch, which is unusual in itself, which is why I've got the mic to make sure Johnny gets heard.
It's like the worst version ever of Boyzone, to be honest with you. No, but it's great to have Johnny here. Obviously playing the MLS, he's been fantastic over there. Obviously still keep track of it, and his goals record over there has been tremendous, and hopefully he gets another club and he keeps it going.
Yeah, and later on, before the programme finishes, we'll do our quiz for this week. Did he fall or was he pushed? Tam fell down the stairs, and we're just wondering whether there was a wee altercation with the wife or you were bladdered.
Insurance policy, I think, was one of them. She pushed me down the stairs, but no, I did. I'm all right, but I've got painkillers. So
Look at Ryan's face, sheer panic. Well, listen, first and foremost, Ryan, what did you make of it? 0-0. Was there an opportunity lost for Celtic?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at it, obviously they've been on a bad run. I think they won a game in 5. So, the form that Celtic's been in, especially in the Champions League, I feel like they might have thought that was a missed opportunity. But at the same time, a point away from home in the Champions League is not to be frowned upon.
Yeah, I don't know. I get a feeling, Scott, that when you looked at the overall game, I thought they were poor. I thought they were there for the taking for Celtic.
Yeah, I think obviously Celtic controlled much of the ball throughout the game, but it was just one of the days where the front three weren't clicking as much as we've seen them in previous games. I think, like Ryan touched on, I think it will be a good point coming into this league section, and I think Celtic will more than definitely make the playoffs. I think there's enough quality in the side, but as soon as you don't have the players firing, the questions are asked should be a win. But it's a big point for Celtic away from home, and I think all eyes now on the cup final come Sunday.
Yeah, Johnny, are you a fan of this new format in the Champions League?
I don't know. I still really don't know what's going on. To be honest. You know,
better rules in America.
I know. It's a weird one for me, but I suppose it gives a lot of teams more opportunity than they probably wouldn't have had. And no, it's good. I've been obviously watching the games and keeping it. It was actually nice to watch a game at night instead of early afternoon games. So no, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the format, but I mean, as long as you get to see the games, that's the main thing.
Yeah, there's 2 games to go, Tam, quite simply. Although it was a point last night, it means that Young Boys and Aston Villa are the 2 remaining games for Celtic to secure what would be a knockout game, whether they're in that top half or indeed the bottom half. in the unseeded section of the playoff, at least they'll get another game, and the money that they would make from a playoff game, again, just gives you an indication of the gulf in European football.
Yeah, listen, I think they'll beat Young Boys at home. I've seen them a couple of times this season. I don't think they look great. I think in front of a packed stadium at Parkhead, I think Celtic will take care of them, and then they go into the Aston Villa game with nothing to lose, really. I think Aston Villa will probably be through as well. Yep. So it's a great opportunity to go and test yourself against one of the top clubs in England. But yeah, just going back to last night, I thought Celtic maybe could have brought on Ida earlier. I thought they sat deep. Kyogo had no space to run in behind. I think when they play against packed defences like that, Kyogo's kind of nullified a wee bit, and I thought they could have went a wee bit longer into Ida earlier than they did. But listen, it's a decent point, and they beat Young Boys in the knockout stages.
Even I think it's hard to believe. Even when I see Scott in the studio, Johnny, I look at you from the early days of me being a reporter, watching you burst onto the scene. You're 34 now, which is amazing. But when you look at last night, you know, when Celtic needed to change things, they bring on the old guard, and suddenly James Forrest finds a pass that takes 2 or 3 players out, and Celtic are in behind.
I know. I watched the game with my brother, and we were talking about James. Just, it's incredible the career he's had. What he's done at Celtic is incredible for me. And yeah, you go to the tried and tested, the guys that you can trust, and James has always been that guy. And he's still got so much more to give. It's not as if, you know, he's on the way out. Just signed his new contract, and incredible player. And in games like that, you need that experience, like Tam said as well. I think the change could have been made sooner as well. I think you can see the difference when Ida comes on. So they were probably there for the taking, but good point, and a point away from home. You know, change days. You know that we're saying that Celtic really should have went and took a team away from home. So no, it's another point on the board, and like you said, another step closer to qualification. So
yeah, what do you make of Brendan Rodgers' side?
I think they've been great. I think that obviously the questions were coming from Postecoglou. What was his style going to be like? But I think, you know, Celtic have just sort of took it and skyrocketed. I think some of the stuff they've played, especially some of the stuff they've played in Europe, I think they've been really good to watch this year, which is obviously good for me as well. Not good for Scotty. But,
What do you mean by that?
Outed again.
Does everybody cane you for this, by the way?
No, but no, I think they've been great. I'm coming back in. I think it's been brilliant for the team, and yeah, it's fun to watch right now.
Yeah. Okay. So Celtic with Young Boys and of course Aston Villa to look forward to. Aston Villa late January as well, which gives you an indication of how much the Celtic fans are certainly enjoying this. Certainly when you're away from home, and all those trips away certainly do you the world of good. You can have a good time over the festive period, and Celtic find themselves 19th in that league at the moment with those 2 games remaining. Hard to believe it. They're alongside Real Madrid, who had a sticky start, but suddenly just went through the gears and looked to some of the old guard to get them the goals he needed. Mbappe for one, and Bellingham with a peach.
Yeah, they needed that. Real Madrid, they were toiling. I was looking at some of their fixtures towards the end, and they had some hard games. I think they'll get into the top 24, and they'll still be one of the favourites to win it. But I think what Johnny said earlier, it does give smaller clubs, you know, an opportunity. I think when you look at the seeded, the groups of 4, it was always the top 2 seeds basically that went through. So now you see PSG struggling a little bit, Real Madrid struggling a little bit. Teams like Leipzig have not won a game, lost every game, who are usually in the knockout stages. So I think it's been refreshing from that point of view. You're going to see some different names. Club Brugge got a great result again last night. They'll probably go through. Celtic, I think, will go into the knockouts. So that gives other teams, the smaller kind of clubs, smaller budgets, an opportunity. Whereas before it was basically the same last 8 all the time. The big clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's getting a wee turn, and of course financially as well. They're trying to spread as much of the wealth out as possible. And again, as Johnny mentioned, some people might take a wee bit of time to warm to the format, but the format is really a case of UEFA reacting to try and make sure that there's no potential for a European Super League breakaway again. And of course, they're up against the likes of the FIFA Club World Cup, which is also something that UEFA are trying to stem the popularity of. So lots to talk about. Give us your thoughts on Celtic. Did you think they were up to the mark? Who was the standout for you? Who was slightly below par for you in that Celtic side? And if you want to give us your thoughts on the cup final against Rangers coming. Rangers have got a big week ahead with Tottenham on the horizon. We'll be going to Blair shortly to get his thoughts on what Philippe Clement had to say at Ibrox, and we'll also hear from the Rangers captain, James Tavernier. Thanks to so many of you who have subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you click on the subscription button, you can join the football family. So many subscribers, and of course your backing for all our content across all our social media platforms has been absolutely magnificent. Brian says Celtic just looked scared to get beaten last night. In the previous season, Celtic could easily have lost that game. Overall, it's a 0.1 in his mind. PJ says, Peter, those TVs in the studio look expensive. Make sure you keep Scott away from them. Obviously, Johnny's not aware of this, but you work for every broadcaster in Scotland. You're on Al Jazeera, you're doing Nickelodeon, and because there's been an opening in a cookery programme, you're contemplating doing that as well. You've broken the tellies at Clyde. How the hell could you break a telly at Clyde on a wall?
That genuinely wasn't my fault. The desk was too close to the TV. I've just had a little lean, and it's next thing you know, I turn around, there's a big black stripe down the TV, half and half.
So it was you?
So it was me,
Yeah, absolutely. We're also going to talk...
Wages docked.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it. They'll know all about it down there. Thanks to so many of you. Great point away from home, says Polly as well. And Smart says, good point for Celtic, but their passing all throughout the game was atrocious. Do you agree with that, Tam?
Yeah, I didn't think they were as crisp, Peter, as they usually are. I thought Hatate had a poor game. Hatate's been a bit hit and miss at the minute. He's either very, very good or he's poor. I thought he was really poor against Bruges as well. I'm not singling him out. I think the whole midfield of Celtic just weren't just crisp and at it. And
Interesting to see what he does on Sunday now.
He's got so much competition for places. I thought Bernardo, will he play? Will bring Engels back in? He's got so many options, Peter. Kyogo's been a kind of scourge of Rangers over the years.
I get the feeling though that he doesn't have a dilemma with two of them. I think he always looks and says, well, McGregor's definitely playing and Hatate. You can then, that's the one.
Look, McCown will be pushing as well, probably. He's been excellent, so...
A big cop to play him in the derby though.
Yeah. Marty says, morning from the gym in Los Angeles. Can confirm no doobies for him. Well, I didn't know that was a prerequisite over there since we mentioned about Kenny, the Aberdeen fan. Missed opportunity last night. Thought we were too conservative and passive. Still a great point though. Thanks to Marty from that. That break from Maeda at the end of the first half, Kyogo goes near post. So obviously people picking holes in various parts of the performance, but overall Celtic get a point. They're in a good position, and a good position to be at least in that non-seeded section in the playoffs, which I think will be a good position for them to be in. That's certainly why Brendan Rodgers was brought back. We'll talk Rangers Tottenham in a moment. Johnny, got to get your thoughts on your own career, because I've seen some lovely posts from a lot of people for your contribution in Kansas. Even the MLS itself paying tribute to the work you've done there. 34, it's quite a long time that you spent there, and a lot of people appreciated what you contributed.
Yeah, I was there for 7 years, being captain the last sort of three and a half. And yeah, it was a tough one, to be honest. It wasn't something that I really wanted. I wanted to stay, but we haven't had the best couple of years, and they're making big changes there. And obviously, this is the way that they thought was best for the club. So I've been lucky wherever I've went. I've always had the backing of the fans, and it wasn't any different there. So the messages I've received and people reaching out has been nice. Obviously, it's never nice to leave anywhere that you've spent so long at and you've built so many relationships, but it's I still feel good. The plan is the plan is to go back out there. Speaking to a few people right now, so definitely going to continue playing, and it looks like it'll probably be in the MLS still as well.
Yeah. Was there a wee sniff or a temptation to come home?
There was, I've had a couple of people reach out, and there's been a couple of things, and it's obviously the appeal is always to come back home, but I feel that I've done well out there. I've enjoyed myself out there as well, and there's a lot of things to think about as well. I've got my family there, a young family as well, so
Citizenship coming up as well.
Citizenship, can apply for citizenship next year as well, so just different things like that. The kids can get it next year. That was something that we always wanted to do, and like I said, I've enjoyed it there. I feel like I've built myself a good reputation there, and a lot of clubs have reached out, so there's a few that I'm really excited about, so just kind of need to wait what the next week or two holds. There's a lot of different rules, regulations there. They've got the re-entry drafts and expansion drafts and stuff like that we don't really have, so I still don't understand most of that.
See, in terms of when you first went out there till now, what's the changes been like in the league, like year by year?
It's
obviously Messi and that having a big effect on
I know
that.
what the perception is of the MLS, but when you watch it, and just for me, from being there, every year the standard gets better. There's more teams coming in. They're attracting younger players. It's not the sort of guys who are going at the end of the career. A lot of teams are going away from that model and try to get young guys in. So they've brought in, like the DP would be your guy who's about to finish his career, comes in big money.
Yep.
Now they've brought in a young DP. So a lot of people are going after younger guys. And that's been the standard for me has went up every single year. And people who don't watch it or watch it enough are still going to give it the stick and that old stigma that it's the MLS, it's retirement league, but it's completely different for that. There's just so many things that you need to.
And in terms of like the coaches and that as well, because I think it's like when we obviously at Dundee United and then you went to Derby, and the intenseness of playing football in Britain, do you think that's now affecting it as the years have went on, or is it a completely different coaching style?
I would say so. There's a lot more foreign coaches coming over, so whether they're British or South American, they're bringing in these coaches, and a lot of the teams are starting to look like that as well. And the way some of the teams are starting to play as well is it's definitely propelling the league, and it's grew so much in the 7 years I've been there. I think it's just going to continue to do it.
Is it better also because obviously, when I look back at what went wrong first time around the North American Soccer League, in the 70s they just brought people, as Ryan pointed out there, at the end of their career, superstars who were there just to take big bucks and leave. One of the things that I was reading up on was the fact that there's a greater structure of kids playing the football and can continue to play, and there seems to be not so much a huge drop-off, but a drop-off of people playing American football because of injuries that you can sustain.
That's really in the last few years I've noticed that. A lot of American teams who had never really paid much attention to their academies are all starting to do it now. And then, like you said, so many people are getting involved in it. I think the concussions are the main one, taking them away from American football. There's a lot of bad and high impact injuries in that. So the turnaround I've seen, and Kansas has always been big for football. My kids play it, but even when you take them to the little summer camps and stuff like that, the amount of kids out there is crazy, to be fair. And I think when you speak to people now, the turnaround I've seen has been massive, and I think it's just going to continue to grow like that as well.
Yeah, nice of obviously Scott to let the cat out of the bag. You're going for citizenship. We knew
you just let another cat out of the bag 2 minutes before that.
Oh, no, exactly. But we knew he was going for citizenship because obviously he's growing the beard and he's starting to read some books as well. He's really looking forward to the new president.
But, I can't believe he's not coming back and going to Livingston. Gowser's trying to nobble him, man.
Tried.
Livingston or LA.
Yeah, exactly.
Close.
Minor technicality on the weather and the manager. Wee Davey would soon have him sorted out, wouldn't he,
Yeah,
Ryan?
that beard will be clean off in a week.
Absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you one thing that I do, and again, and thank you to so many people. Obviously, it's great that we've got Johnny Russell here over at a time when you'll be spending time with your family. But one of the things that I'm not yanking your chain on this, that I really admired about you, and I think it's a great lesson to so many footballers up and down the country, is when you were picked for your country, you absolutely got over here. You were on the plane. You were in the squad. Sometimes you were never getting a sniff of getting on that park. But we never heard any complaining from you. You were delighted to play for your country. And I thought you were a great example to so many people on a footballer with the right attitude to what it takes to go and play the game you love and the honour of being picked to play for your country.
Like, that was always a dream. And growing up, you never expect that you're going to play for your country. So any opportunity that I got to come back across, and you know, I was in the squads when I played in England, and then sort of fell away from it for a few years. And I got lucky because there was internationals in Peru and Mexico, and it was at the end of the season. A lot of guys had pulled out after a long season, injuries, and I got lucky to get back in. Obviously, played and managed to keep myself in. Even with a change of manager, kept myself in right up until COVID. But you know, a lot of people, you know, brought that up to me, but like, I didn't expect to play every game, and I wouldn't expect, just because I've travelled for America, that, you know, that justifies me or guarantees me minutes. But any opportunity that I got to come represent my country, train, just whatever it was always a faraway dream. So to actually get the opportunity to play for your country is, you know, not many people get to do it. And I was lucky enough to do it, you know, 14 times. And, you know, no matter what happens, it's always the proudest moments of my career. And nobody can ever take that away from you. I get to say that I've represented my country, and, you know, for me, that's massive.
And Ryan, it's something that you actually held dear as well, you know, because that attitude of, well, I'm coming from America, I didn't expect to get a start just because I'm coming from America. You would have walked over broken glass just to play for Australia.
Yeah, I think so. And like what Johnny says, I think as soon as it's the national team, you just have that, you know, dream of when you're a little boy, when you're 5, 6, 7, and wanting to play for your country. So it's a bit of a surreal moment when you do get that opportunity. And there is obviously boys that take, not advantage of it, but, you know, maybe take it for granted, and they just think they'll be in the next squad. But, you know, me personally, I always felt that this could be my last squad. So, you know, the regret that I would have had if I just didn't want to travel over, or, you know, like what Johnny said, I knew I was flying back to Sydney or Melbourne, and unless, you know, 6 boys got injured, I wasn't getting any minutes. But it was just that, you know, what if I did get an opportunity? And you know, it's probably similar to Johnny. You get to come back, and your parents get to come to the games, or your friends and family. You get to catch up and see all the boys. So a lot of similarities to what Johnny was saying. Is, you know, as soon as you get that phone call, that's the first thought that's on your head. And you know, especially at the clubs, I think it's good. I'm obviously trying to speak for you, but, you know, Kansas would have wanted you to be a Scotland national team player because it reflects well on the club, it reflects well on the league. Similar to when I was in, you know, here, there and everywhere. They always encouraged me to go to the national team because they could say they had a national team player on the books, whereas sort of over here, I think sometimes a lot of the clubs try and have that power of, you know, we're a bit bigger than the national team and we don't want you to get injured. So sometimes it's just that little bit of different mindset from the different countries.
Yeah, what Johnny doesn't know is, of course, that 6 players did get injured and he eventually got in. Which was,
never know, mate. Just keep rocking up. Keep rocking up.
Which was fantastic. Ended up with World Cup jerseys a lot. Fantastic. Listen, we're going to hopefully, with a bit of luck, check in on Blair out there at Ibrox, because Blair, you have been chatting and obviously getting the thoughts of Philippe Clement ahead of that huge match, a big double-header this week, Celtic in the cup final, but Tottenham coming up next. What was the mood like at that press conference?
Good afternoon, Peter. Yes, it certainly is a busy week for Philippe Clement. It looks like a very busy couch for you guys this afternoon, but obviously I'm outside here at Ibrox this evening where they take on Spurs tomorrow night, and it's quite a week where Ibrox team here playing Spurs might not be regarded as the biggest game of the week. But of course, when is the shadow of an Old Firm Cup final looming at the weekend, that takes over every conversation. A lot of the chat this afternoon has been all about the team news. Philippe Clement said it will be a pity not to have Danilo and Yanis Hadji in from the start on Thursday night. They have both been left out of the European squad. He said that was a decision made back in September, and of course there's nothing to do about it now. However, that may be a positive hidden in disguise, that they may be fresh for Sunday afternoon. Philippe Clement also said that he will be forced to make changes this Sunday with the cup final in mind. However, he was very hesitant to talk about Celtic and insists that all focus is on Tottenham tomorrow.
Yeah, Blair, the other aspect of this is Tottenham. It would be great if they could pull something out of the hat against a Tottenham side that have had more than a few problems of their own. Ange Postecoglou, again, under pressure as the Tottenham boss with that loss to Chelsea. What was the general feeling from the Rangers manager about how Tottenham are going to approach this and the standard of player that Rangers are going to face?
Yes, that was an interesting one, Peter. He said he made a point of on Sunday afternoon when the team were coming down the road from Dingwall after playing Ross County that they put the game on in the team bus, and he wanted them to watch Spurs in that defeat against Chelsea. Of course, we all know the riches of the Premier League and the standard of player in that Tottenham team. However, Philippe Clement this afternoon said that nothing is insurmountable and that everything can be bridged.
Things insurmountable apart from a link to Ibrox. Let's get back to him.
He was playing for Club Brugge, and they...
Okay, we'll try him just...
yeah,
well, to be fair, we're going to go back to him because I think he's still there with us. He's still with us, actually. With a bit of luck, we might reconnect with Blair and get a final thought from him on that. But just on that, Blair... they would have watched Tottenham, and with that in mind, the Rangers players, if they did watch Tottenham, they must be preparing for a 9-8 scoreline on Thursday night because Tottenham play a really high line. It'll be interesting to see the tactic that Rangers deploy, but just on a final thought, although he only wants to take one game at a time, how big a match could this be for the confidence for Rangers going into the cup final?
Yes, Peter, sorry, I don't know how much you heard of me there. He made a point today of saying that no match is insurmountable, no matter the budget of Tottenham. He pointed to his own career when he was with Club Brugge and they took on AC Milan in the San Siro. That was a team filled with the likes of Pirlo, Shevchenko, Pippo Inzaghi, and they came away with a 1-0 victory that night. So Philippe Clement obviously looking at his own career to try and instill some confidence in these Rangers players. As for what it will do for Rangers team, well, it may well accelerate this evolution of this young team, and evolution has clearly been the word Philippe Clement has been going with over the last couple of weeks. He said that when he went to Tesco, there was young people out talking about these exciting players that are coming through the ranks, such as Hamza Igmani, and how they are getting on in a Rangers jersey. So you'd think that a win, as unlikely as it may be, will do wonders for the confidence of this Rangers team. And as well, he may deny it, but there's certainly the bigger game coming at the weekend.
From James Tavernier in the next 60 seconds or so. Blair, just a final thought on that. Do you think in any way that he plays a less than full strength side against Tottenham when there's silverware on offer and a chance to really buy himself more time with the Rangers support and maybe instill a little bit of belief that the gap isn't as big as everybody's making out?
Well, I'll be honest, Peter, judging from the way he spoke this afternoon, I think it's an absolute certainty that he will make changes against Tottenham. He said that it's going to be a test of the squad's depth, these next two games coming up. Interesting to note, James Tavernier, you're going to hear from him in a moment. He goes on to talk about how he's maybe not expecting to start every game, his close relationship with Dujon Sterling, and how it's all about rotation in that squad. He said it's not affected his mindset, though, and he is still working hard in training. But from what I've heard from Philippe Clement this afternoon, Rangers fans expect changes tomorrow night as Rangers take on Spurs.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic to get Blair joining us there from Ibrox, and great to see so many Rangers fans, youngsters, getting the chance to speak to the Rangers boss in Tesco of all places. What was it like, Scott? What was it like when you had a wee chat with him in Tesco? Was it great?
It was fantastic.
I'll tell you one thing. When we look at Tottenham, does anybody expect Rangers to take something from them? Is this a chance to maybe just continue the feel-good factor? Is it a point? Is that fantastic at home against Tottenham?
Yeah, I think for me a point would be a good result. Obviously, one eye on Sunday. I know the manager won't say that at this moment in time, but I think we both know it's a huge game for Rangers and a huge game for Philippe Clement in his Rangers career. For me, I think the momentum that they've shown the last few weeks with day changes, obviously Hadji and Danilo not going to be available. I think they'll be big misses, but you'd expect Dessers to come back in, obviously getting 2 goals as well, coming off the bench. But I think taking the 2 players, I think Hadji's been a standout the last few weeks. He gave them that something creative that they were lacking, a lot more dynamic going forward. So for me, a point would be a good result. But with Tottenham, they're a bit like Rangers were a couple of weeks ago. You just don't know what you're going to get. They could be electrifying, or they could be 3-0 up and then concede 4. Really don't know what you're going to get, but I think obviously Ange Postecoglou knows what he's walking into.
Yeah, and of course with that team selection, it's changed days for James Tavernier, the Rangers captain. He admits that he's not necessarily going to start in games.
Not at all. You can never be like that as a footballer. You can never expect to start. You'll always be, you'll get too comfortable, and you don't want that. You always want to be keeping pushing yourself, and then every single week I never expect myself to start. I always try and push myself, and that's what I'll continue to do even when I've not been playing, is just pushing hard and obviously helping the team.
James Tavernier splits a lot of people down the middle, Johnny. From my own perspective, I think James Tavernier, when he leaves Rangers, a lot of people will look and say, will say to themselves, okay, go and try and fill a 133 goal hole.
He's been,
No.
I know those kind of numbers for a right back are ridiculous, to be honest. I think he's been a great servant to Rangers. He's been there through a lot, and he does get a lot of stick. But to be fair to him,
would you like him to start on Sunday?
That doesn't really bother me.
Johnny's not playing, by the way. But I think the biggest problem with everybody on this, and this is I know he slightly tongue in cheek, but he opens up a point, Scott, that everybody is talking about, which is James Tavernier conducts himself impeccably as a Rangers captain. But the problem here is Rangers fans look and say, if this is a cup final against Celtic, James Tavernier against Dyson Maeda is a real problem for a lot of Rangers fans.
I mean, the last few games, that's been a real sort of key battle between those two, and obviously Maeda's has got the best of it. But like you said, he's conducted himself his entire Rangers career with nothing but class for me, and he has been targeted for a lot of stick, but I'm sure he's going to want to play. He's going to want to prove all those people wrong, and a big environment, cup final, and I'm sure he plays. But it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Like I said, Maeda has had he's had the best of it recently.
Do you think he's going to start?
I think he does.
Yeah.
I just think when we go on the James Tavernier against Celtic, when we just isolate it against Celtic, he has been at fault for a lot of goals, guys getting in on the blind side, and it's happened time after time. That's why you're at the crossroads where a lot of Rangers fans would maybe want to go to Dusan Sterling, for instance, was more a solid option at full-back. That's the problem. I don't think it's the goals. I think it's when they're playing against an opposition the level of Celtic, and a player with obviously the traits of Maeda, who would be a problem for any player on his day. I think that's the thing that worries Rangers fans defensively in terms of the big games, is Tavernier against him.
Does he start?
I think Maeda's on it. He does that to anyone.
I know that's my point. There's been a lot a lot of cross balls in the Rangers Celtic fixture, and it closed body shape and someone getting across them in goals. It's not one or two. You're on the 4 or 5.
I'm not sure I've seen enough from Sterling to be like he is a much better defender.
I'm just
Would
saying.
stop that. It's more pace, more athletic. I think. So
at this point, obviously, just as obviously Tavernier's getting on, you can never question the assists and the goals he scored. But I think that's just that one thing, especially in the big games against Celtic, he has been at fault for.
I think Tavernier will play against Spurs, and I think Sterling will come in against Celtic.
And with that in mind, how does he approach the Spurs game? How do you think it's going to go? I mean, you could have anybody in here saying this could go any way.
Really could though.
With Rangers and with Spurs.
I think the team lines will be crucial. I think it's quite early for us to predict. I think that Tottenham have obviously got a game on Sunday and they're struggling in the league a little bit. Rangers have got a huge game. I think the team sheets will be imperative. I think when you look at Spurs, I looked at their game against Galatasaray. They played 4 or 5 kids. They played Lancashire and Lankspear and guys like that. And you think to yourself, will they do the same? Ange's coming back to Glasgow. It's a big game for him as well. Will he go full strength? Spurs go full strength for me, Peter. There's only one winner, but I'm not so sure that they will. And I think Rangers will rest a couple with one eye on Sunday, because until Philippe, Clement and Rangers beat Celtic, there's always going to be question marks about him. So I think that's, for me, the bigger game for him and the club.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to say, but European football, there's a different view from certain clubs in England to European football. Champions League is out on its own, but for example, I went to the Europa Conference final, West Ham absolutely delighted to be there. First chance to win a European trophy since 1965, so they're embracing it. The problem for Spurs is there's this kind of a delusion of grandeur that they should be, a top 4 Champions League club, and their expectation far exceeds the reality of what they are as a club.
I mean, the trophies definitely say that, and I would agree with that. They definitely think that they should be there, but Premier League is a hard league. You see it so many times, and especially in Europe as well.
Did you see the Chelsea game?
I watched the Chelsea game, and that goes back to what Scotty's saying. You don't know what you're going to get from Tottenham. They can look incredible 1 minute, and then some of the mistakes they make, the 2 penalties, are just schoolboy. I don't know why you're diving in the first one, and the second one, you know exactly what Cole Palmer's going to do, and you still run into it. Like, that's what I mean. You just,
is that the manager? Is that the player? Is that the whole? The difference between the Ange Celtic team and Tottenham is when you play in the Premier League, and Johnny's played against a lot of the sides, they've all got athletic players. They can all, in Scotland, teams in England can deal with inverted fullbacks, and that's when, if he did get a nice balance, he would be on a lot more points. And you've worked with him, haven't you? Mm-hmm. He won't change though. He will not change.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be slightly critical of him. I think if he doesn't change shortly, he's going to get sacked. Yeah. Just basically because I think a manager's job. And we were highly critical of Brendan Rodgers when they get pasted 7-1 with Dortmund. A manager's job is to, first of all, have a plan A to work out how to beat a team, and then a plan B, and then a plan C. That's a manager's job. You can have an ethos, but as I constantly mention, the amount of managers that I've been lucky enough to actually sit down and chat with, who would say, I'm like, for example, down at Largs when I mentioned here with Tam on a show a couple of years ago, Marcello Lippi, what's your style? And Lippi just said, my style is exactly depending on the players that I've got available to me. That was his attitude. Ancelotti, absolutely pumped by Man City because he went toe-to-toe. So the next year he changes. And he said, well, I'm not going to go toe-to-toe with Man City. I'm going to change the way I play. And they knocked Man City out of the tournament, albeit he rides his luck a little, but he still worked a way to beat them. And that's what good managers do, Ryan, surely.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that Ange firmly believes that the way that he plays gives him the best opportunity to win games. So why would he change it if he thinks that's the best way to win a game? And he gets sick and tired of saying it, and that's what he fully believes in, and he's believed in for the 17 years that I've known him, is that he believes that the way that they play gives him the best opportunity to win a game. So that's why.
What about within that though? Like, because I don't think you can disagree with it, because it's some of it's incredible to watch.
He'll be probably more frustrated at the individual mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, the things that you can't coach, the decisions that the players make. It
But
must
that's
be
what
pulling his hair out.
mistakes are one of the most natural things about a game of football. Mistakes happen.
Yeah, but giving away 2 penalties when when you're 2-0 up.
The second one was laughable though, Scott,
I
wasn't
know. I just think within that ethos, because it is amazing when it clicks. You're sitting there clapping at the TV. I just feel, like you said, he will. If he doesn't change, he will be out of job, I think, soon.
it? Yeah. Have you ever Panenka'd somebody at a penalty?
No. I have the stones for that.
Jason Cummins at Hampden's best runs up and dinks over the bar. Best ever.
Dinked it over the bar, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got that one in me. I'm a confident guy, but not that confident.
Were you cursing him when you done that? Were you raging?
That's just him, isn't it? That's just Jason.
Did you play that game?
No, I was just at Celtic at that time.
Yeah.
But I remember we were all sitting in the canteen watching it, and then obviously he scores the winner, doesn't he? He put them through and does the Pirlo interview when he. I thought I was like, Pirlo,
Yeah, absolutely. Utterly unique. Only he could attempt that and fail miserably. But I'll take the boy Palmer. He's just got ice in his veins. I mean, I've never actually looked at a guy who looks so disinterested with anything other than just taking to the park, Tam, and strutting his stuff.
Yeah, he's sensational. He's a great player. He's got everything in the locker. I see Real Madrid are now looking at him. 21 years old, and you're talking about English clubs not taking European competitions seriously. Chelsea never even put him in their Conference League squad. He's not even in the squad, so that's how serious they're taking the Conference League. But yeah, he's a tremendous footballer, and I can see him going and playing with anybody really.
Prediction: Rangers against Tottenham.
Well, I was on the show on Monday, and I said 3 each, and honestly, it could be. And by the way, this could be Spurs 3-0 up and going for the 4th and drawn 3 each. I'll go for. I think there's got to be goals 3 each.
Yeah, I think Tottenham are going to win, regardless of the.
It's not going to be 0-0, is it?
No chance.
It's not going to be 0-0. I'm going to go Tottenham to win. I'll say 2-1. It could be 5-4. But
It's genuine. You don't have a clue this game.
no, you don't have a clue. But I think they're even at their weakest. I think they're stronger than Rangers.
I think completely, like Tam said earlier, it completely depends on the lineups. If Tottenham go full strength, Tottenham win that.
Yeah.
You just never know. Rangers in Europe, they've managed to produce some magical nights. I think they can do it again, but I would agree with you. I feel like Tottenham are just that a little bit too strong. Even if they do rest a couple of guys, I still feel like they've got enough quality there to win it. But I think there'll be goals, tight 3-2. I'll go.
Okay, Ryan.
I think Tottenham will win 3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
That's what I love about
Clean sheet.
Yeah,
I just think even if they I think Rangers have to play their strongest team and hope that Tottenham make a couple of subs or a couple of changes to their 11 to give them any type of chance.
Is your prediction obviously just slightly based on obviously?
Well,
I was going to say.
I'm genuinely just, it's so
No, but
off the cuff.
I'm trying
This
to pick
game.
his brains on the basis. Is it also maybe in some way in the back of your mind saying, and Rangers might be more interested in what's happening on the Sunday in the cup final? Is that what's in your mind?
Yeah, I just think that both teams will have a bit of an eye on the weekend. Both will make changes, and when you do make those changes, Rangers become considerably weaker. And I think Tottenham, that jump isn't as far down, so I think they'll be even stronger than what they would have been. So
Yeah.
that's my thinking. Do you
Okay.
think Rangers win?
Nah, 2 each. I'm going to go with 2 each.
2 each. Yeah.
You said 4-0 Rangers in there.
It's, I wouldn't worry about it. Everybody's got their opinion on it. But nevertheless, give us your thoughts on it as well. We're delighted that Johnny Russell is with us on the programme, just in case you're wondering why I'm holding a mic. It's so rare that we have 5 people, but we thought it was well worthy of getting Johnny on. We're delighted that he could come in and see us. And as ever with so many of our guests that we get on, it gives all the other broadcasters a chance to try and get them 3 weeks later, Tam, and offer them lucrative contracts, because that's the nature of it, isn't it?
It's because you're like the La Masia, like the Barcelona of young talent.
La Masia.
You introduce all these young footballers and they go to bigger bigger and better things.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I could have said that. I wish I could have said that about Johnny in the early years. It was absolutely a brilliant career at Dundee United. And then Derby was good as well.
Derby, I enjoyed it down there. It wasn't something I was looking to do. I spoke at the time. I always wanted to go. I wanted to go abroad. I wanted to go try different country, break the sort of mould of Scottish players who done well and went to England. I had some interest in Italy and a couple of different countries. I wanted to go and try that, but it never worked out. And then the opportunity came to go to Derby, massive club down there, and no, I loved it there. I think towards the end of my time, I had a few problems, sort of off the field with things that were going on, and kind of put a dampener on the end of it there, and that's ultimately the reason I wanted to go. But no, I spent 4.5 years down there, loved it. Brilliant club, still got a lot of friends who are there, and a lot of people that work behind the scenes that are still there. So it's always keep an eye on the teams that I've played for, and no, good memories there. Just fell short a couple of times in getting to the Premier League.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I usually prep people for this question, but it's a tough one for you. You've played with some great players, so give me the 5 best players you've played with. Can you just 5 goodies, Johnny? Just 5 that you actually look at and you think, thank God I was able to go on the same park with them.
Put Scotty, man, like
Sweating bullets, by the way. But Johnny,
I actually went on trial with Derby when Johnny was there.
Yeah, well, listen, let's not highlight all your failures. Johnny, 5. 5.
Right on the spot. You want to come back to me?
I'm not giving. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll come back to you on this basis. You think 5 cup final, Rangers, the Tottenham game aside, and this is what we're talking about with Ange Postecoglou. Does he need to win this one? Does he need to win this one for Rangers?
Yeah, I don't think he needs to win this one, Peter, but in terms of the final, he needs to win the final. I mean, Tottenham tomorrow, you'd like to win that game. It'd probably get them qualified, but the final's massive, Peter. I mean, as I said to you earlier, until Philippe Clement can prove in a big game that he can beat Celtic, there's always going to be question marks about him. OK, they won the final last year against Aberdeen, great. First bit of silverware, but in a big game against Celtic, he came up short. And until he breaks that mould, the Rangers fans will always have that in the back of their mind, and I don't think it'll be Sunday. I think Celtic are too strong for Rangers, and I don't think they'll go and wipe the floor with them. But I just think Celtic in a big game, they always turn up. You're wondering, will Rangers turn up? You know Celtic will.
Just before we get to the predictions of these two guys, because we won't have them here closer to the weekend in the cup final, we do have a comment from the Rangers manager Philippe Clement from the press conference.
If they would have won all the games until now in the Premier League, I still would go out to win the game with my team. That's the mentality I want to see for my players also. If you start to calculate and doubt and they are good and they're not good and this is really good. We played with Bruges against Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, and with Monaco also. So before the game, if you show the images of them, what they did in their career, it's better to stay home. But it doesn't work that way. That's not football. So with good collective things, you can do really good things and getting results. And this team can also do that with very good collective things and individual actions.
Yeah, so that's Philippe Clement basically saying that they're going to go and try and win the game against Tottenham, and a team selection is everything for it. So it's going to be difficult. I think we can maybe second guess 8 of the players he's going to pick for the game at the weekend, Scott, barring injuries and maybe a tweak in the way he goes about the tactics, because for me, that's the most important thing is you've lost the games, you haven't got the better of Brendan Rodgers' Celtic. You now need to come up with another plan and another tactic to get him.
But the tactic that Rangers have played the last few weeks, which has allowed them that freedom in the forward areas, I still feel Celtic have played against that intensity this year and won. I think they have the answers for that. I think if you look back to the previous Old Firm fixture when Rangers did press well from the start, Celtic worked out very quickly, started cutting through the Rangers midfield and chance after chance and ran out comfortable winners. I look back at the Scottish Cup final last year where he was a lot more reserved and pragmatic in how the team played and Rangers stayed in that game for a large period of it and looked like they could maybe nick something on set pieces, but ultimately still lost the game. So it'll be a very interesting one on Sunday, because I do feel even with that attacking approach, I still think Celtic have the answers to that.
Okay, John Cusack says Rangers manager has to be able to beat Celtic. If not, then he has to go, in my opinion, says Jock. And I think there's a lot of Rangers fans of that opinion. Second is nowhere. So they have to win. Do they win on Sunday?
I think it's a tough ask, to be brutally honest, because I think if they both play to their best, Celtic win. I think Celtic need to be off it. And I think Rangers need to find that balance of pressing well and pressing in the right areas and not blowing the game wide open. If they can get that sort of spot on in terms of when they do press, like what Scott said in the last Old Firm game, the first 20 minutes they were good in terms of their pressing, and then it just almost I think it was offside. It got called offside for the goal. After that, kind of spooked them a little bit. So they have to work out, which is hard during the game, the right times to go and the right times not to. If they can kind of work that out, it gives them a much better chance.
So there's not a specific tactic that he's going to deploy?
I don't think you can press them fully, like it showed in the first game this season, and then in the cup final. I think if they just sit in and try and soak up the pressure, I think Celtic are used to playing through that sort of low block type team. So
I think we're more, when you go player to player, Celtic have the quality, and if Celtic turn up, they should win. I think, as you're saying, Ryan, is if they go full press and they lock on, you can do it for 20 metres further back. If they go high, Celtic have pace in behind that kills you. And Celtic, for me, have the answers to that, because they've played against different sides this year.
They have to play it like a European game, basically.
A European game gives them a chance.
Gives them a chance.
Okay, you two have gone Celtic. Game. Johnny?
Let me guess.
No, I think I have to agree with him. I think Celtic right now are just too strong. They have got all the answers for whatever Rangers throw at them or try and do. I don't think it will surprise Celtic. I think they've got the quality to figure it out during the game. And I just think at this moment in time, Celtic are too strong, and I can see Celtic winning this one.
Okay, and again, listen, there are some Rangers fans out there. A month ago would have been filled with dread. The last couple of weeks is certainly, maybe just in the last couple of results, is maybe slightly altered what was a kind of a fear going into this game. Maybe the game against Tottenham will again further enhance their confidence. Only time will tell before we get to the cup final. And again, we will keep you right up to date with the build-up, the managers, the players, and of course on Friday on the football show, get the predictions. We'd love to hear from you on it as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and we'll keep you right up to date with Scottish, English and European football. Johnny's got 5 players that are the best players that he's played with, and we are going to find that out right after the news headlines.
Hi there, I'm Kerry, and here is your daily news update on Thursday the 11th of December, brought to you by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded. Celtic boss Brendan Rodgers says his side are well aware of the fact they had to do that bit more in last night's draw against Dynamo Zagreb in the Champions League to gain maximum points.
Yeah, I think that's that's my honest answer on it. We needed to do more. We needed to do more, but we know that, and that's that's cool. If we were honest as a group, we know that it was an opportunity for us there.
Liverpool manager Arne Slot says he wants his side to be that bit stronger despite coming away with a 1-0 win over Girona last night.
If you play against a team that has such a good idea about football, knows how to bring the ball out from the back, like some other teams we faced recently, like City or Real Madrid, then you need to be so intense.
And finally, Scotland defender Kieran Tierney could be making his Arsenal return after 16 months after Mikel Arteta finds himself with an injury crisis. For all the latest breaking headlines, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. And don't forget to download our app, which is available on Google Play and the App Store.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry for the news update there, and everybody's just basically hanging on it now. Does Scotty make the cut or has Johnny just played at
A sympathy vote if he does.
levels above? Yeah? Is it
A sympathy vote because he's here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just tell me some big names.
We've done that
Sorry,
before,
Scotty.
Tom, haven't we? We've just maybe voted someone in so as not
If
to
they're
hurt
there,
their
it's
feelings.
I think so. I
It's
think
very
might put him in
difficult.
just to be nice.
Johnny's a good lad, but sometimes there's a real brutal side to him. Let's find out what side he's on today. Who's your 5?
Scotty knows all of them.
You don't need to put me in your 5, Johnny. I got him that contract.
Coming through, to be fair, the amount of goals he produced for me were outrageous, but that's biased because he's sitting here, so I'll leave him out.
Aye.
I'll probably go Andy Robertson. He's got to be in there. Big McTominay's got to be there. I'll go just for the potential in such a young age and sort of what he's going on to do, and I'd put Ryan Gauld in there. For the same, I'd put a young boy I played with in America, Gianluca Busio. Came through like 15, 16 for us and was incredible, and Venezia signed him in Serie A. And then for one that a lot of people won't agree with, but just in terms of how much enjoyment I got with playing with him, would be big Chris Martin at Derby. I think he got a lot of stick when he played for Scotland, but when we played together at Derby, everything that went into him stuck. His first touch was one of the best I've seen, and he was just a goal machine. Great guy as well, so we had a really good connection, linked up really well. So I would definitely put the big man in there.
Yeah. What do you make of that 5, Tom? That's good. Good 5.
Yeah, there's some great players in there. Chris Martin, I'm surprised to put him in. Not he obviously played him. He's a very good player, but obviously when Johnny was injured, Chris Martin could be able to fix you.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, obviously one of the main reasons why he's going back to America is because of the crap that Tom just comes out with non-stop. I could see your head going.
Did you think Chris Martin was buzzing? I had to have something.
I know,
I was trying to think of songs.
I could see him getting through the albums. But one was a single. Anyway, listen, it's a good 5. Just before we go, Ryan, Copenhagen against Hearts. The Jambos have come off the foot of the table, which is one thing, but they're up against a pot 1 team, and although they've got a point more than them in the overall standings in that conference, Copenhagen are unbeaten in 12 games, 6 wins, 3rd in their table. Are they just a bridge too far for Hearts to hope to get something away in Denmark?
Yeah, I think Hearts have next to no chance of getting anything over there. I think, like you said, it's a pot 1 team. I think there's a big golfing class in terms of the pot 1 teams and the sort of lower ones in that sort of conference league. So, yeah, I think it would be a huge step too far for Hearts. I think from there, as a club, they'll just want to go there and make sure they're kind of putting in a solid enough performance. But, luckily they won at the weekend to get off the foot of the table, which will give them a little bit of confidence. But league form has to be the key one there. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a few more changes with an eye at the weekend.
Yeah. Johnny, just before you go, what do you make of Scottish football? I know you still try and keep a close eye on it.
I do. It's a lot more difficult to watch it over there than I would like, but I still keep an eye on it. And
your old club's doing well. Jim Goodwin's done really well.
They're doing very well, and that's good to see. But no, I definitely do keep an eye on it. I'm always, the way that I sort of have to protect the American League, I have to do the same for the Scottish League. It gets a lot of stick from people outside of it, but I'm always fighting the cause. And there's some quality, there's some real quality young players coming through as well, which is, we've always been good for that. Philippe maybe took a little bit of a dip for a few years, but I think some of the guys that are coming through right now are really exciting, and I think we've got a lot of teams doing well, European stage in the last couple of years as well. So it's exciting, and I'm always going to be one that battles our corner.
Just before you go, when you come into the studio, it felt as if we just left you yesterday. You kept your Scottish accent. Tam and I, and we've all been talking about in the last 7 days, I was in the company of Sir Kenny Dalglish, kept his Scottish accent down there in Liverpool. What about yourself? Do you change when you go back over to America? You know, do you suddenly, do you have to, you speak slower, but have you ever, you know, do you at that point when you're away from the boys, because you know we Kenya, do you eventually get back to America and go, hey boys, we're going out for some dinner and that, and then we're going to
deep south?
Oh, Jesus.
Alabama.
Wait a minute. He looks as if he's driving a truck. You keep your Scottishness, that's what I'm asking you.
I do. Like Tam said, you have to slow down a little bit when you're talking. Some of the words that you have to say, you feel yourself going, oh.
You've never had any other Scottish boys in your team, have you?
No, there's never been any Scottish boys. A couple of the words that they say over there that you kind of have to say, that you think to yourself,
Nice hustle.
I get slaughtered.
What are those two words?
So locker room's a big one when they say locker room.
Cleats.
That annoys me. Cleats, trash, sidewalk. There's a couple where you're just like highway. You're just like yourself saying it, and that's a shocker. But no, it's.
Have you said take the trash out?
I know. I don't say it in the house, but
Get in the locker room, guys.
no, it's the main thing is slowing it down, and then if you've had it's like you've had a couple of bevies, and it starts to come back again. But one of my teammates, a few of my mates came over a few years ago, and we went out, and he was like, "You guys don't speak English." Like he'd been that used to listening to me slow down how I talk to him, and then he heard all of us together, and he was lost, absolutely lost. So I've still kept my Scottish accent, unlike some people we know, Scotty.
Aye.
I won't say names. I think everyone knows. So. Barry Ducks.
Is he speaking Polish?
I know it's a hybrid of different accents he's got right now. But no, I'd myself if I lost my accent.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we wish you well. It's time to hit the highway. We'll run out of time.
Oh, you used to are so clever with them wordsmiths, aren't they?
Absolutely. We're not going to get any hits from you two, are we? Thanks to Johnny Russell for coming in. We wish him the very best of luck at Inter Miami in his new club. Can you imagine he bloody...
Are we going over it? Can we go over an interview, please?
If he signs for Inter Miami, Johnny's our best mate. We are over there.
Bin Messi and give him 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, we wish you the very best whatever you decide over in America. Absolutely fantastic to have him in the studio. As ever, the two lads, superb on our Wednesday, Ryan and Scott, and Tam himself with a major back injury, but you'll be fit for the Christmas party next Wednesday, no doubt.
Yep, I'm missing that, Peter.
Yeah,
Because you're buying. For a change.
One of the reasons why you're not missing out. Thanks to Johnny, thanks to Scott, Ryan and Tam. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, and if you download the app, you get all the breaking news at your fingertips right across world football. We will undoubtedly discuss on Friday's programme Saudi Arabia getting the 2034 World Cup and the implications of that as well. From everyone here on The Football Show, thanks for listening, thanks for watching.